So Valentine's Day was recently, and so I've been thinking a little bit about love and why I find it so disturbing as a concept. And I think it's really it's just well, so clearly marital relationships from a decision theory perspective, clearly they're loss minimizing in some extent. Clearly there's an equilibrium of uh clearly that there's some sense in which the continued proliferation of certain arrangements helps you to secure goods over long-term periods. But clearly there is extents to this, and I mean the love paradigm has had to deal with this due to endorsing divorce in contexts, and so clearly like it's not clearly the thing that disturbs me about love is this view that the motivation for your actions has no bearing whatsoever on the consequences of said actions, in terms of that the motivation is some feeling you're feeling towards the other person that's irrespective of what they're doing for you. And so in that sense, I think in that sense love is really just completely illogical, and it just completely contradicts basic common sense and basic it doesn't make sense as any sort of motivation. It's clearly being enslaved. In any other context, we would say this level of emotional attachment to a decision would be completely ridiculous. If someone was asking where they should, what job they should work. I mean, I guess maybe like where you live, you can say, oh, if you have sentimental value and attachments, maybe those are illogical, but you still want to consider them in terms of these things. That makes that sure that is good, but we wouldn't want someone who has ultimately these sorts of illogical sentimental desires. We wouldn't want to encourage that on a broad scale. And so yeah, the issue with love is that for one, it's a facade. For one, however many people get divorced, it's a really large number, and so don't even so basically love, it's not even real, because you'll probably get divorced. Well, maybe, you know even if you think you're the total, so like maybe okay, so divorce actually rates have actually gone down, but I think that is just because marriage is going down, and so people are kind of waking up that love isn't real, and so yeah. But the thing is, like, it's always contingent, but we pretend it isn't contingent, and so I think that's what's disturbing about it. It really just contradicts basic game theory decision perspectives, in terms of I am, if someone hits me, if someone gives me a tat, then I'm go or yeah, I'm gonna I'm not gonna like tip them back. And so basically, so I mean, like, I think it's honestly capitalism's fault, because for most of society, we had arranged marriages, and we sort of like you know we sort of thought through these things, like kings, like, they would just marry their kid to the principality that was next door into to their daughter, just because it had like some diplomatic strategy, and those two would stay married, and they would subsume that lifestyle that was imposed on them, and presumably we would still consider I mean, it was marriage, so in a sense it was love, right? And so I mean, most of in hunter gatherer sort of societies, they're like people, like they there was like 10 people in the fucking tribe, and so if you didn't fall in love with the one other woman who was like or man, or well, I was gonna say, yeah, well, no, I think there is, like, I think the jury is still out on non-binary identification, and within not agrarian and nomadic societies. Yeah, there's some wiggle room there. So maybe, I guess I will say that they thems, you could fall in love with a they them in a yeah, but presumably if you didn't fall in love with the one or two other people of your particular like, then you were fucked, right? So it's like, so clearly, like, in these societies there was no sense of this, like, you're gonna find your fucking soulmate, like, you're gonna find the best fucking pair of pants in the in the pants aisle at fucking Kohl's or whatever, right? So like, clearly it was like, this is like some like sort of capitalist invention, in terms of for most of society, we encourage people to like think through things through these sorts of strategic. It's very funny because these sorts of like industrial design, game theory, game theory, decision theory, these sorts of like concepts kind of arose, or they kind of like were formalized in a in mercantile, in mercantile and capitalist contexts. But it's really ironically that these sorts of societies eventually they realize that so people understood these as heuristics though, and so they realize that if they encourage people to think through romance as a level of another level of base passions, that it could increase consumerist identities, and so eventually, so eventually I think capitalism kind of made people think that they started hallucinating this thing called love, which was this non-contingent romantic inclination towards someone. Before in chivalrous societies, it's clearly so fucking vapid, these sorts of things we would never we would laugh at and scoff at today. As hallucinatory or clearly in fucking service of jacking yourself off, but with love, whatever the fuck it means, whatever the fuck it really is, because I have fucking no clue, by the way, and I don't think anyone who doesn't also feel love should feel ashamed. I don't think I'm ashamed that I don't love anyone. So and the fact that so I think eventually we kind of invented this. Sorry, I just farted. I don't know if you heard that. I feel like I should just be straightforward that I did do that. Because I don't want people speculating in the comments about that, because all I just said I did. I don't know if you heard that, but I did a little. So, sorry, I burped there. And I think that's kind of it. Yeah, I think capitalism kind of invented this concept of love. If you really want to be super intelligent, realize this is just kind of a thing that your society is putting on you, and it's not really a real thing, and no one can really define it. It doesn't really make any sense. You can get divorced, and so clearly love is not forever. It clearly just doesn't. It contradicts basic common sense, basic game theory decision making. I think that's what I'm going to end the video with. Okay, see you, bye-bye.